love is bullshit. And if anybody tries to tell you differently, I want you to esoterically smack them in the face. And if you know this person, maybe you can physically smack them in the face. But I am not responsible for any damages that occur if you do smack someone in the face. So, if you're one of those people who thinks love is all that, then this is for you. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Solar Systems, where we help you understand the system your soul goes into. This is Moon Days with Michael. I'm your host, the Royal Archangel Michael, and I am cutting out the esoteric middleman and giving you the tools you need to connect yourself right to the source. Now, as you may have noticed, it's cold and I just slipped. But that's besides the point. Today, as you might have guessed from the intro of this video where I smacked you around a little bit, smacked them in the face, we're talking about love and why love is bullshit. Now, you have to understand is that anytime you have a thought, an emotion, especially one like love that is extremely powerful, you have to be careful not to get lost into that thought, feeling, emotion. Otherwise, it really doesn't become a thought or an emotion anymore. It kind of becomes a worldview. So that's why we're talking about love. And if you ask me, one of the easiest ways to get lost, especially into a being you don't really want to be lost in, aka Lucifer. So, without further ado, let's chain up the scenery a little bit and start talking about why love is bullshit. Love, right? Bullshit. So, before we actually hop into the reasons of why love is bullshit and why you need to be careful with the feeling of love, a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm not trying to say that the feeling itself, the thought of loving something or someone else, is a bad thing. It can lead to a bad thing. Everything requires moderation, awareness, and attention, okay? So if you are putting too much attention into a thought, a feeling, or an idea, and you're not moderating that, and you don't have the awareness to see that you're not moderating that, the energy, the attention that you're giving to that thing, that is how you become lost. So, I'm not trying to say that all love is bad, but it can lead into a bad thing. Let's actually talk about love and Lucifer a little bit and why it's a bad thing. So, if you know anything about Lucifer, basically when God had its first expansion, dream, imagination, Lucifer was one of the first beings that came from that. And he basically loved himself for maintaining that expansion longer than all those other spirits. And in some way, shape, or form, all of those other spirits started relating to Lucifer, love. And this caused Lucifer to overly love himself and get lost into himself by expressing his light onto other beings. Those beings received that light, internalized it, then externalized it, and that was the only light that Lucifer was receiving. So he got lost into himself. And that light, that emotion was love. Okay, but why is this a bad thing? Think about it like this. People often say that loving something can be one of the greatest feelings in the world. But what happens when that attention, that energy you put into loving that thing doesn't go your way? That can be one of the most painful things that you can experience. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't mean you shouldn't love, but I just want to put that into your perspective of how powerful this can be if you're not aware enough to see when you're loving too much. Think of it like this. I would hope that everybody has seen Star Wars by this point. And if you're familiar with the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, then you would know that the reason why Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader is for love. He wants to protect his wife, and eventually that leads him going to the dark side, where he's trying to get all these abilities to try to save Padme from dying, even though he's the one who causes her to die. If that isn't a perfect analogy for how bad love can get, then I don't know what is. Because you can love something so much, and you could be the reason for suffocating that thing with love, causing it to die. Here's another example. You ever get a song stuck in your head, and you keep playing that song over and over and over again because you love it so much, you relate to it in some way, and then what happens? You go to play it again, and you're like, oh man, this song, like, I can't stand this song. You gotta skip it. Same thing. You see, one of the reasons why love can be so dangerous is because oftentimes it leads you to start taking care of things other than yourself. It can lead you to start experiencing things that you shouldn't necessarily be experiencing, but you have been so blinded by this feeling of euphoria that you want to go and do those things. So what you have to do is you need to align yourself with that thing, whatever it is, but you also need to have the awareness of when you're diving too far into that thing, right? We've all been there. So let's hop into a different space, kind of up that way, and talk about some of the ways that love can be kind of stupid. Live, laugh, love. You know, we've all heard that one. We've all seen them on signs, of, like when you walk into a store or something, it has live, laugh, love. Woo! No. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing inherently wrong with living your way that brings you happiness and joy. But for most people, that isn't necessarily going to be the case, because we live in a world where hardships have to come. And in order for you to learn certain things, you have to go through certain experiences. And a lot of the times, you won't necessarily be in a state where you can just be happy all the time. Now, of course, that kind of depends on each individual's perspective and the way they go about moving through those experiences. But for the most part, that's not going to be true. But it isn't as bad as the next saying that we'll get to in now. Love, not hate. That is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard of in my entire existence. I'm just kidding. How am I supposed to love something that isn't good? How am I supposed to love something that goes against my being? You want me to love that thing instead of hate it? What about the neighbor down the street who just blew up a car for no reason? Or the freaking Pope who likes to touch little boys? You see what I'm saying? Like, they're trying to make love into this thing that it's not. And it's not the end-all be-all. And that's what they want it to be. They always talk about, especially, you know, Christians talking about how, oh, Jesus practiced love and preached love and all that. I'm like, that's cool. Like, a little bit less hate in the world would do some good. And a little bit more love could do some good. Where do you draw the line at? Because if you don't draw a line, you're going to be turning more blind eyes than you could even think of, trying to make sure that you're staying on that path of love, not hate. The stupidest thing. Remember earlier when I talked about awareness, moderation, and attention? Same thing applies here. Okay, everybody, Archangel Michael here, and I would like to start a new revolution called Persecute All the Science Teachers, because whoever came up with the idea that heat rises is absolutely stupid, because the higher I keep climbing in this tree, the colder I freaking get, and I do not like it. But let's talk about another common phrase you hear about love. Love is light. Yeah, no duh, they're the same being. What? Like, love came from the freaking light bringer, the morning star. No shit. And knowing that, you want to continue to preach love? You're putting the two easiest ways to get blinded and lost in the same goddamn thing. Like, come on, how are you supposed to navigate through something when you got so much light up in your eyes you can't even see 2 inches in front of your face? And how are you supposed to go ahead and navigate all the different thoughts and ideas and emotions of people coming into your life if you attack it with the same ideology of, oh man, I have to love this, I have to love that, I gotta love this person, I gotta love that person? That's stupid. No, don't do it. Love yourself. Focus on what you want to consciously experience and do whatever you have to do to make sure that happens. As long as you have the awareness to make sure that you're not getting lost into something that could lead you on a path of having to go through a bunch of bullshit experiences so you get back out of a place where you're unstuck and not lost. If anyone could send me a helicopter to get down, that'd be really great, because I am freezing my ass off. Alright, everyone. Well, I got down. I'm cold. I'm sitting on a rock. My butt's cold. My hands are cold. My face is cold. I'm just cold, you know what I mean? But anyways, so before we finish off this video, I just want to make sure that you guys all understand that I'm not necessarily talking bad about love in its entirety. I'm just talking bad about what love can do to you if you're not careful. There's no problem with loving yourself, and in fact, self-love is probably one of the most important things you can do, because you want to take care of yourself and do the things that you love. You have to understand that there's a line that has to be drawn before you get lost. Just like what happened to Lucifer. And as you can see now, you know, he's just kind of trying to get everybody else lost into himself. And I don't really want that for you guys. So, the point of this video is to not get lost into love, and also understand how dangerous love can be. Now, I'm certainly happy to clarify anything in the comments that you guys have to ask, so go ahead and ask it. But, remember what I said in the beginning. If you're one of those people, or you come across one of those people that think love is all that, and it's the end-all be-all, it's not. And if you come across that person, esoterically smack them in the face. And until next time, fly high, y'all.